All right, before jumping in, I want to give a big shout out to Coldy. Thank you so much for having me on Crypto Art Week. I'm really excited to be a part of this and looking forward to all the great content. So today, my conversation is going to be about what the value drivers within the non-fungible token ecosystem are. All right, so for those who don't know, and I'm sure that most of you guys know this, a non-fungible token is simply a unique digital asset. And on the left-hand side of the screen, we see one Ether and one Ether, and those are completely interchangeable. It's just like $1 and $1. My dollar is the same as your dollar. There's really no difference. And that is a fungible asset. And on the right-hand side of the screen, we see a non-fungible asset. And in this example, we have CryptoKitty number 1 and CryptoKitty number 2. And they might look exactly the same, but they are completely unique, totally separate. And, in theory, CryptoKitty number 1 could be very expensive because it's the first, and maybe CryptoKitty number 2 will be less valued. It's totally dependent on the situation, but that's just an example of a non-fungible token or a unique digital asset. All right, so within the NFT space, there are numerous different types of NFTs with different meanings and different uses. So I kind of like to bucket them into these 5 separate categories so I can wrap my head around it. So number 1, we have collectibles. These are assets with little to no utility, and you can think of them like baseball cards. Number 2, we have game assets. These are assets with high levels of utility within their universe, and you can think of it like a sword in World of Warcraft. That sword will have a certain attack and the ability to kill certain monsters and stuff like that. But if you take it out of the universe, it's not super useful. Number 3, we have virtual land. These are it's kind of weird because there are many things, but I like to say that they're user-owned social, e-commerce, gaming, and creative platforms all rolled into one. And I don't have a really great analogy for those, but I guess you can think of it like how Second Life was. Second Life was a virtual world game. And number 4, we have crypto art. It's just art that has been tokenized and put on a blockchain. And then number 5 is other, and that's variable. The kind of the definition of that, because there are so many different types of NFTs coming out there. We have insurance, NFT certificates for physical goods, domain names, just an unlimited amount. Right now, those markets are quite small comparatively to the others, but I do think in the near future, the other category will expand into 10 different things. All right, so before diving deeper into NFTs, I want to talk about why art has value. And I actually really don't know this, so I Googled it. And from the source of artnet.com, which is a big art resource, well known, they said, like currency, the commercial value of art is based on the collective intentionality. So I Googled what intentionality meant, and essentially, art has value because everyone thinks it has value, just like money. So I thought that was very interesting, and I wanted to know how Sothebys value their artwork. And Sothebys is the famous art auction house. It's been around since like 1700s or something, and they have 10 factors that go into valuing artwork. And it's authenticity, condition, rarity, provenance, historical importance, size, fashion, subject matter, medium, quality. So why does crypto art have value? And if you look, you take what Artnet says, which is just, okay, art has value because other people say it has value. And then you kind of look at the 10 factors that Sotheby's has. You can kind of look, okay, well, actually blockchain solves a lot of these factors that Sotheby's has. Authenticity, condition, rarity, provenance, historical importance. These are actually all solved by blockchain. If you look at the blockchain, you can tell if something is authentic right away. I can look at the contract address and say, okay, this artist actually did make this. It is real. Condition, obviously not a big factor. You can't kind of ruin your painting or ruin your piece of art on the internet or the blockchain. Rarity is instantly solved because, again, I can look at the blockchain and see, okay, there's exactly 20 of these editions, or there is exactly 1 of these editions, right? So that's instantly solved. Provenance is instantly solved because you can tell right away, okay, where did this come from? When was it created? It was created on July 1st, 2020, and it was posted first on Super Rare or Known Origin, some art platform. You can tell through the blockchain. And then lastly, number 5, historical importance. So you can follow the wallets. So let's say I owned a piece of art, pretty cool, but I'm not that important. Vitalik Buterin, if he owns the same piece of art, then instantly that piece of art becomes much more important and there's a lot of historical significance around that. So it's really cool to see how blockchain instantly solves a lot of these conditions that Sotheby's use to actually value their artwork. So continuing this thread of why crypto art has value, among the reasons we already covered, it is attached to a global 24/7 uncensorable financial system. That is the blockchain, right? So Ethereum, for example, which is where 95% of all crypto art is currently built on, is it's essentially this global financial infrastructure that can't be stopped, right? So I can transact with someone in China, who transact with someone in Spain, who transacts with someone in Texas or whatever, and that transaction cannot be stopped. That's absolutely incredible, and it really lowers the barriers for people all around the world to get involved in the crypto art scene. And we already touched upon this, but the 5 out of the 10 factors that Sotheby's has for valuing their artwork is instantly solved through blockchain. That's incredible, right? Sotheby's is, I'm sure if you came to Sotheby's, you said, hey, I have a technology that you guys can use that'll instantly solve half of your valuation factors, they would be like, oh my, what is it? Tell us, right? It's blockchain. But I really think that at the end of the day, from what we read on ArtNet and from my personal just opinion, I think the value of art really boils down to the artist's reputation or brand. We'll go more into that later. All right, so coming back to the broad categories, we're going to go through and look at how value is derived from each of these sectors. All right, so first one, collectibles. I think the value of collectibles is mainly derived from the narrative around the assets. Game assets, number two. I think the value of game assets is mainly derived from the asset's utility within its environment. Number three, virtual land is actually very similar to physical land, which is kind of cool. I think virtual land, the value is derived mainly from its location, parameters, and content. Four, crypto art. Again, the value behind crypto art is mainly derived from the artist's reputation. And then again, number five, other, and the value derived from the other category is variable because there's so many different categories within that one sector. Okay, now to go through each different category and kind of plead my case as to why I believe value is derived by those factors. So first one, let's look at collectibles, and these are physical collectibles. So right here on the right side of the screen, we have a Mike Trout baseball card. This card sold for $3.93 million, which is just craziness for a piece of cardboard. It's actually funny to say that because we buy digital goods. But anyways, this card was actually graded a 9.5 out of 10 by a third party, and that's very important that it was a third party. It's not like myself telling the seller, telling the buyer, hey, this card is rated really well. It's like, no. There's actually a company that exists solely to rate these cards. That's very important. And also Mike Trout, if you're not a big baseball guy like myself, he's very, very good. He's a MVP and really famous. And basically this community of baseball fans all agree that Mike Trout is very good, right? So right now, it's looking pretty good for this card because you have a really good player. It's rated really highly. The quality of the card is 9.5. It's very good. And then now we come to rarity. Rarity, it's one of one. You can't beat that, right? People just naturally like rare things. If there's a million of something and you have one of them, you don't feel that special. If there's a one of one and you have that one thing, you feel very special, right? It's just a natural thing that we have. And this is also very important, past sales history, right? So if you went from opening this card pack or however they're sold and you instantly sold it for $3.93 million, people would be like, okay, what's going on here? This is a little unusual, right? But I'm sure, maybe the first time it sold for $1,000, then 10,000, then eventually 400,000, and then now it's selling for 3.93 million. So it's very nice for people for this narrative that we're kind of building here, for people to look at it and say, okay, this card actually has past sales history. So it's not just some crazy one-off deal. It actually has some value to it. All right, so now we're going to look at NFT collectibles. Again, the value is derived from narrative within the collectible sphere. And the narrative for this asset is, it is a CryptoPunk, and specifically it is CryptoPunk 2386. And CryptoPunks are very exciting because they were the first NFTs on Ethereum. So that's very cool. It's a great story, great part of the narrative. And there's only 10,000 total CryptoPunks in existence. So that's very important. You don't want, a billion of these CryptoPunks, or else they wouldn't be as special. And again, we're going back to the community. So CryptoPunk fans all agree that CryptoPunks are, cool. And then also they all agree that monkeys, because most of the CryptoPunks actually look like people, monkeys are even cooler because they're so rare. So out of the 10,000 CryptoPunks, there's only 24 monkey CryptoPunks. So on the rarity scale, you have only 24 of these assets out of 10,000 are monkeys, therefore very rare. And then again, past sales history, this asset previously sold for $5,900. And before that, I'm sure I'm sure it didn't go from 0 to 5,900. I'm sure it was a steady climb. And then most recently, it sold for 15,000. So you can just imagine in 2 years' time, this CryptoPunk will probably be even more valuable. All right, next up we have game assets. So the value of game assets is derived from the asset's utility within its universe. So for example, on the right side of the screen here, we have a World of Warcraft character with a sword called Ashbringer. And Ashbringer is the most powerful sword in all of World of Warcraft. So you have to imagine being the most powerful is extremely high utility because, with one hit, you can kill a lot of monsters and that'll save you time and kind of, that cycle continues. So it's very, very useful and therefore very high in the utility scale. Now, there is no open marketplace for World of Warcraft items. Obviously, they're not using NFTs yet, but you can only imagine with a user base and a community and the narrative and kind of all these factors surrounding this sword, if there was an open marketplace, this sword would go for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of dollars. All right, so now let's look at NFT game assets. So again, the value is the same. It's derived from the asset's utility within its universe. This beautiful guy, or should I say handsome guy, on the right side of the screen is an Axie, which is kind of like a Pokemon type creature. And his name is Handsome Bob. And Axies can be used to battle. And, they have certain attack, defense, they have certain stats. And if you win battles, you actually can earn an ERC20 token called Small Love Potions. And you can actually sell these Small Love Potions for money, or for Ethereum, which is money. Or you can actually use these Small Love Potions to breed more Axies. So very, very high on the utility scale there because Handsome Bob is so powerful that you're able to win more battles, which will allow you to earn more or breed more. And because of this immense utility that Handsome Bob has, he recently sold, I think it was 5 days ago, for $82,000. So very impressive. All right, land. So land in the physical world. The value is derived from its location, parameters, and content. So on the right side of the screen here, we have this really beautiful tower that is in Manhattan. So obviously Manhattan, great location, some of the most expensive real estate on earth, right next to the work, right next to your friends, whatever. The parameters. So what is like the height, width, length of this plot of land that you have? And you can kind of see from the picture, it's kind of hard to tell, but the plot size is pretty large. I'd say it's medium. It's nothing crazy. You can see that there's some smaller buildings bottom left of it. But really what makes this tower stand out, this piece of land stand out, is its height. So obviously the developer, he built a massive, massive tower here. And he was able to do that, according to his parameters. And so the content itself would be the actual building on top of this piece of land. So he could have built a very ugly, cheap tower, but instead he decided to go, all in and make this really amazing, incredible, cool tower, right? So all those factors combined, location, parameters, content, those check out, and this equals a very, very valuable property. NFT Virtual Land, same thing. Location, parameters, content. So on the right side of the screen here, it's not a great picture, but it is in a virtual world called CryptoVoxels. And this location is 2 Cash Road. And it's supposed to be basically, the pictures it's not good. You're supposed to basically be able to see the full tower, but it's very, very tall. It just wasn't loading on my screen. So the location of this tower is Frankfurt, which inside CryptoVoxels is kind of like this, it's kind of like the financial center, I guess you can call it. And it has the tallest height limits within the entire world. And so the parameters, very, very tall height limit. I'd say that the plot size is nothing too crazy again, but when you add in that tall height, you have a lot of total volume. And the content, although you can't see it well because I took a terrible picture, is very cool because it's basically this big tower of like GIFs and cryptomorphs, which are this certain NFT, and they're all kind of moving and it looks very, very cool. So this piece of land sold for roughly $50,000. And that's incredible. It was actually part of a larger bundle, which the total amount was $110,000. But this piece alone was sold for roughly $50,000. All right, going back to art, which is what we're all here for. All right, so again, the value of art is derived from the artist's reputation. So, left side of the screen, we have this Banksy piece that was made by Andrew Steinwold. So let's pretend that Banksy has never released this piece before in his life, and I am actually the one who released this piece. So I'm a brand new to the art scene. I whipped this bad boy up. It's pretty cool, and I put it for sale. And I'm expecting the big bucks, but no one knows who I am. I have no reputation. I have no experience in that world. I have no connections, no marketing, etc. And I sell it for 20 bucks, right? So not ideal. Banksy, on the other hand, he creates something like this, and he has, I think 20 years of experience in the art world, or probably more. He has a huge, worldwide brand, great reputation. A lot of people, like his stuff and love his stuff. And he makes the same piece. He can sell it for 5 million, right? So very large difference, and it's really dependent on the reputation. Crypto art, again, same thing. Goes back to the artist's reputation. So what we have here on the right side of the screen is a piece of art made by the crypto artist Josie, and so you kind of you're assessing her reputation. You can look at her Twitter followers. So she has nearly 9,000, and you can see, okay, she has really good engagement on all of her posts. So it's not bots or anything like that. In terms of branding, she has a live stream called Behind the Art. So that's obviously very great for branding, because she can go interview people, talk to them, blah, blah, blah. So one thing that she does, which is great for brand building and community building, is that she'll purposely sell her art for below market value. And that makes it very approachable for a lot of people in this space to acquire. It's not totally out of their price range. And on top of that, she'll sell multiple editions of a piece of work. So instead of doing a one of one, which sells for 10 ETH, 20 ETH, whatever, she'll sell multiple editions, which can be priced at much cheaper for more people to buy. And then what that does is it just builds her community, builds her brand, and people like that. And so this piece right here on the right side, it last sold for $12,500, which is very impressive. All right, and now to the other category. Again, there's just so many things that NFTs can do. Intellectual property, physical goods with NFT certificates, insurance, property titles, domain names, contracts, etc. It's just unlimited, right? And right now, I don't have good valuation metrics or factors for each of these categories, because they're quite tiny. But I'm very, very excited. I'm looking forward to all these different things that I've listed here and more expanding and branching out into their own separate categories and their own separate markets. And when that happens, I'll be happily making another one of these videos and assess where the value is coming from. And that is it. So thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Another shout out to Coldy. Thank you so much for inviting me to Crypto Art Week and inviting me to come speak. If you guys want to learn more about all things NFTs and the Metaverse and how all these things interconnect, then I suggest subscribing to my newsletter called Zima Red, and also checking my podcast, also called Zima Red. And give me a follow on Twitter. It's Andrew Steinwold. So thanks so much.